What if I told you that you could double your revenue without finding a single new customer? It sounds impossible, right? Well, today we're going to talk about the powerful and often overlooked strategy of smart pricing. Now, let me ask you a question, and I want you to be honest. Is your pricing your biggest business mistake? For most businesses, the answer is, shockingly, yes. We often treat pricing like it's something to be minimized. We almost feel guilty about it. But what if underpricing isn't just a missed opportunity? What if it's the single most critical error you're making right now? And we're not just talking about leaving a little money on the table. For some of the biggest companies in the world, tiny mistakes in pricing have led to absolutely catastrophic real-world consequences. Take a look at this number, 1.7%. It looks tiny, doesn't it? Almost insignificant. But let me tell you, in the world of business, a number this small can be the difference between survival and total collapse. That's right. A tiny 1.7% increase in their average price is all it would have taken to bring travel giant Thomas Cook to break even in its final year. That one little change could have saved the entire company and all 21,000 of those jobs. It just goes to show you, pricing isn't some small task to delegate. It's a massively powerful strategic lever. And this wasn't just a one-off thing. For the retailer BHS, an almost invisible price bump, 0.13%, could have completely erased their losses 1 year. I mean, these aren't just minor oversights. They are fundamental errors that have enormous human consequences. So it makes you wonder, why do so many businesses default to just keeping prices low? Well, it's usually because of a really common and really wrong assumption about how we all behave as customers. We've all been taught this, haven't we? It's like Business 101. If you lower your price, more people will buy your stuff. It's the foundation of so many sales and promotions. But is it actually true? Now, there's a fancy economic theory for this, called price elasticity of demand. It basically just draws a neat little line on a graph that says, as price goes down, the quantity people want to buy goes up. Simple, clean, logical. But here's the catch. That neat little theory was built for massive commodity markets. Think grain or oil or steel. And it rests on one gigantic assumption, that customers are purely rational beings. And as we all know, human beings are anything but. So if we're not these perfect, rational robots, what is it that we're actually buying? The truth is, we're not just buying a product. We're buying a perception. We're buying an idea. We're buying the illusion of value. And it is absolutely vital to understand this difference. Functional value is what the product is. It's the water molecules, the chemical compounds. But perceived value, that's everything else. The story, the brand, the cool packaging, the feeling it gives you. And that is where the magic of pricing really happens. Let's look at some real-world examples, starting with the ultimate commodity, water. The main ingredient, H2O, is identical whether it's from a tap or a fancy bottle. And yet, the price difference can be over 600%. You are not paying for different water, you're paying for a different perception. We see the exact same thing with painkillers. The generic store brand and the premium brand you know from TV, they contain the exact same 500 milligrams of paracetamol, made to the exact same medical standards. But the price can have a range of almost 400%. The only real difference is the box it comes in. But here's the most dramatic example of all, salt. The chemical is sodium chloride, NaCl. It's the same molecule, whether it's in a simple cardboard tube or a fancy gourmet box. The price difference? A staggering 2,000%. The conclusion here is pretty hard to escape. In market after market, the physical product is basically the same. The functional value is identical. The entire difference in price comes from the perceived value that's created through branding, packaging, and the whole experience. So, if you're not competing on whose water is more watery, what game are you actually playing? Well, according to the legendary strategist Michael Porter, you really only have two viable choices. You can choose to be the cost leader. This means you are obsessively focused on one thing, being the absolute cheapest option available. Think of a discount airline. Or you can be the differentiation leader. Here, your focus is completely different. It's about creating unique value that justifies a premium price. Think Apple. But the absolute worst place to be is right here, stuck in the middle. This is the danger zone. You're not the cheapest, so you can't win on price. But you haven't created enough unique value to command a higher price either. This is where most businesses get squeezed into oblivion, and it is a recipe for failure. So, to avoid that trap, you really have to fundamentally change how you think about setting your prices in the first place. It all comes down to one really fundamental shift. Most businesses use what's called cost plus pricing. They look inward, add up their costs, and then stick a markup on top. But the mindset you need to embrace is looking outward. You need to understand the total value you create for your customer, and then price your product to capture a fair share of that value. There's this quote from David Falzani that just captures the entire philosophy perfectly. What customers look for is value, not value for money. Let that sink in for a second. It's a reminder that we have to stop competing to be the best deal. The real goal is to simply be the most valuable, period. When you do that, the price just follows. Which brings us to one last kind of provocative question. It might sound a little radical, but after everything we've just looked at, it could be the most important question you ask yourself about your business. What would have to be true about the value you provide for you to be able to double your price? Seriously, think about it. The answer could change everything.